Hey everybody, back with another video here. I picked this up. This is I was doing a lot of videos on device programmers, and I saw somebody. There's a little bit of glare there. Whatever. So saw somebody post one of these Advin systems on KLOV, and he actually sold it. But I was kind of interested in it, so I was looking on eBay for one that was relatively cheap, and this one popped up, and so I picked it up. But the cool thing about these is, first off, it's super big. That's not the cool thing, but the neat thing about them is that they do these Advin systems like Pilot U84 Plus or U84 or U48. They actually do PALs, GALs. What else? They do all types of chips. I mean, basically, you don't need any type of family modules or anything. Just this dip insertion ZIF socket here. All dip style chips, and I think you can do other ones too by using these adapters here, using adapters in these spots. So, but anyway, I picked it up, and it was said that it was working. Part of the thing said it was working, and then it said that it wasn't ever powered on because it didn't have a power plug, but they sold it as working. So anyway, I plug it in, and immediately smoke just starts coming out of this area. So I figured I'd start this video I already fixed it. Okay, anyway, I took the top off. So I'll just talk through what I did real quick to fix it, because unfortunately I didn't film it, and I should have, because it was kind of interesting seeing the smoke billow out. But the first thing I did is I saw that there was a couple power connectors here, so I unplugged those. That would unplug the boards from getting any power, and powered it back on, and then I was still getting smoke. So then I went ahead and took off these boards. It was pretty easy to do. You had to disconnect this. There's a ribbon cable over here, and then there's underneath this connector, there's another connector underneath of it. So disconnect those and take it out, and I was able to get to the power supply. And maybe I'll cut in a picture of the power supply in the caps, but at that point there's actually two power supplies. If you can see here, and I'll test this real quick, but it's upside down. Let's see. Yeah, it says source +5, -5, ground, and +12. This is where the power comes in, and there's two power supplies. One is on this side, and then the other one's over here. This power supply provides, I think, like 30 volts, and it's looks like a standard switching power supply, but it's providing like 30 volts, and the other power supply is providing +12, -5, and +5. So I started testing it. Smoke was coming out of the power supply, so I pulled I looked at the caps, and it looked like they were leaking. So then I tested them, and I'll do that here real quick with my, if I can do that for you. Basically, typically on a cap you'll register something, but on these it doesn't even read, and you can almost see the fluid. It was leaking out the bottom of these caps, and like I said, I'll maybe post a picture of what it looked like. So once I recapped the switching power supply, plugged it back in, then I would get a tantalum cap that would pop open and smoke, and you can see some of those right there. Like there's one that's kind of crispy. So I did, find one that failed and then replace it, plug it back in. Another one would fail, replace it, plug it back in. Another one. So I ended up replacing like 4 tantalum caps. I think 2 on this top driver board, and then maybe another 2 on this middle board. And after that, it was all working. So that's what it took for me to get it running. A little bit of a risk buying crap off of eBay, but it turned out to be okay, I guess, because I actually got it to work. So I'm going to put this over by the computer, plug it in, and we'll just do some voltage measurements real quick, and then program some chips. I think that's all I wanted to cover. Yeah, I mean, the key thing is that my EDS capacitor tester actually came in handy, because I was able just to probe the power supply from underneath and see which caps were bad. And the only thing that was bad on the power supply were the caps. So, and it was super easy with this ESR meter here. So, all right, I'll be right back. You can see this. So I'm just going to power on. Hopefully, it doesn't smoke anymore. It is a parallel port, and you do have to have like Windows. It runs on, this version runs on DOS or Windows XP or NT or something like that, or Windows 98. So it is a little bit older programmer, and this is the U84. They have the U84 Plus, or the Plus series. The Pilot Plus ones is the ones that are, you know, newer than this, but still not super new, but newer than this. So anyway, let's power it on, and then can you see? Whoops, let me get it like that. And I'll just test here real quick the voltage. So we're going to put our ground on ground. And that, yeah, it is 29.9 volts DC. So there's one complete power supply for just that voltage, and then there's the other switching power supply for -5 and +5. And I did adjust these, you know, to be at least relatively close. Kind of drifted a little bit, but close enough. So I just wanted to show the power supplies there. So it's pretty beefy compared to some of the other, you know, power supply other programmers out there. This thing is definitely has no fans. That's interesting. Has 84 different pins that it can connect to, you know, via the dip there. And I'm actually going to leave the cover off while we do a programming, because it's kind of interesting when I run the test. So I'm going to run the diagnostics test on this, and then and probably launch the Windows. And you can see that there's relays. I'm not going to do a complete teardown because I'm not smart enough to know what all these things are doing, but there's like multiple relays that obviously are switching pins to the ZIF socket or to the adapter sockets that they have, and then, you know, routing different voltages. Of course, they've got, you know, different voltage regulators and stuff for the different programming voltages. But this thing is big, but it's silent. There's no fans running, and hopefully it lasts a long time now that I recapped the power supplies. But should be good to go, and I'll be right back. All right, hopefully you can see this okay and hear me fine. There's multiple versions of the Advin Captain software. That's what they call it, the Captain NT software to control this. It says that version 1.34 is what you need for these older programmers like the U84, but I couldn't get this to work, so I'll show you real quick. See if you can see that. So it says, when I ran that software, it says it discovers the U84 device fine. It says U84 Rev F, good connection on my parallel port. You also have to install like an NT driver or an XP driver, Windows NT driver, to control the parallel port correctly. But it says everything's good, but it says this machine revision cannot be supported by current software. So I'm wondering if there's, you know, an upgrade of like let's see, like that, like one of the PAL chips or something, some of the software on the board that maybe needs to be upgraded to be compatible with this version. But you can also use the Windows software, the DOS software, and I also found this version 124, which does work. Hopefully, sorry about that, a little jerky. So this version works, version 1.24, and the cool thing about these is it does have this machine confidence test, and it'll test various things, and you can actually hear the relays go real quick. So I'm going to actually do each test manually. So like if you go to diagnostic and go to factory tests and you test the DACs, it'll test those, and every time the yellow activity light will also light there, and it's obviously testing the pins and the values, etc. So it's doing all those tests. I haven't really studied everything on this thing, but I just figured I'd run through some of the stuff. You can run the digital test. It says everything's good. It says low is 39, high is 43. Number of unacceptable pins is 0. Hopefully you can see that okay. And then factory tests, pull-ups. It's checking the pins. So it's a 48 pin ZIF socket, so it's checking all the pins there. And diagnostic. And when you do grounds, it's actually going to test the relays, and that's why I want to kind of let you listen to that. It's kind of interesting. You can see that it's testing the relays, and then it says number of good relays is 17, number of bad relays 0. Now what was also interesting is, I'm not probably going to show this, but when I use the DOS software, maybe I will, it kept on saying that number of good relays was 16, bad relays were 1. So for whatever reason, when I upgraded software, there might have been a bug or something, because in older versions of the DOS software, this diagnostic test would fail, but in the Windows version it works fine. And I've been programming chips and it seems to work fine. So the machine confidence test just does all the tests sequentially, just like that. So alright, so what the reason I got this is, first off, I was just interested, but it does do bipolar proms, which are on Pac-Man boards, I think. Let's see. I have one here. Yeah, I was messing with some Pac-Man boards, and you can see like these 82S. You don't actually see it there, but 82S, 126. 123s, 130s, these little bipolar proms. It reads them and it writes them. So this can do like any of your normal EEPROM chips, as well as the bipolar proms, as well as PALs, GALs. I mean, it can pretty much do everything, which is kind of cool. So I figured what we do is I'll remove one of these PALs and one of these bipolar proms, and we'll put it in and read it and then verify it against some Pac-Man code. Alright, hopefully you can see this okay. Alright, so what we're going to do is we have to select our device, and let's see, I'm trying to think, I think Signetics, is that right? I think is who makes the 82s, yes. We're going to go, you have to choose the manufacturer, very similar to other ones. You can't just put in just start typing 82S 126, I think is what we have, and there it is right there. Gives us our address ranges, etc., number of pins 16. Now, one thing it's not telling us, and I don't believe this one tells you, is at least in the Windows version, it doesn't tell you what programming voltage you're going to use or what programming algorithm. You can see that information in the DOS version, though. But at this point, you want to choose prom. We want to maybe checksum, and you could actually hear the relays firing, and it's reading it. Device checksum is over here, and what we want to do is open our Pac-Man, and I believe we have to load these up as binaries. Let's see, that was was that 4A? Yeah, 4A. We're going to open that, and we need to choose file format binary, I'm pretty sure. And our checksum of our file name, which is down below, you can see that here is 024D. That's matching our device checksum. But for our prom, if we want to verify that, it says verify done, test passed. So that's kind of reading a prom. I don't need to have a bipolar prom to write, but it is nice to be able to read these without making an adapter. Or if I needed to program them, I can now. So with this test unit, which is kind of nice. Let's see what else I want to do. I think I'll come back if there's something more interesting I want to do. Be right back. All right, I guess we will go ahead and burn a chip. I just put in a 2732 that I think is blank. I don't know. We'll find out in a second, and we'll burn something real quick since I did that on all the other videos. So we want to open a file, so choose all files, 5E. So I mean, using Windows obviously is pretty easy, and we got our buffer added. So now we need to configure our device, and we're going to go with like an Intel. I don't actually know what this chip is, but it's a 2732, so we'll go with Intel 2732, and I have not programmed any chips on this yet. Yeah, it doesn't really. It would be nice if it actually gave you the programming algorithm. Just tells you what port your machine, you know. Let's do a blank check. Pin 1 is not making contact. Let's try again. That's kind of cool. It actually told us what the issue was. Still not. This chip here, I actually was had some broken legs, and I was trying to fix it, but it's saying it's not making contact. So let me grab another one. Alright, I think this is an AMD or something, 2732. Alright, blank check is done. And we're going to program. The other thing here is when, you know, it doesn't automatically do a device checksum. I like that in some of the newer software, where every time you read or do something with the device, it automatically gives you a checksum. But let's do program. Wow. That was fast as heck. Device checksum. Is that right? Let's go. Yeah, the checksums match. I had to manually do a buffer checksum to get that checksum there, but the checksum definitely matches, that's interesting. Let's look at our buffer. Looks all blank. So did I load the file right? Ah, buffer edit. Now we actually have data, so we just programmed an empty chip, I guess. I didn't realize you had to do that. So you have to open the file, then you have to load the file. Alright, so let's do buffer checksum. Alright, 1671 blank check program. Alright, now it's programming. No wonder it took so long. There was no data to program. So this is the first time I'm doing this. It looks like it's giving you an address here, and it's updating you there of what address it's programming as it goes, which is kind of nice. There's also a timer, but I don't know, that's not moving. Oh, it is moving. So it's giving us, every time that it programs an address, I guess it's moving the timer. I'll pause and then be right back. Alright, it's almost over, or it did just finish. The yellow light is on while it's programming there, and you can see it says it passed. Automatically did do the checksum on the device, and says device programmed and verified, and you can see the buffer matches the checksum on the buffer, matches there. So it took 3 minutes and 19 seconds, which is about right, based off of the 50 millisecond pulse in the size of the chip. So everything's good there. Not much else I wanted to show here, but I think I will go and excuse me, go and launch the DOS version of this software, so you can see that as well. So alright, for the DOS, I just use FreeDOS and have a bootable USB, which is pretty easy to get into. When you launch it, it'll give you, for the DOS version, you have to tell it which software module you want to load. So if you want to program EPROMs, you would use this SP. Hopefully you can see that okay. You'd use that SP EPROM. If you wanted to do bipolar proms, etc., you would use SP PROM, serial proms, etc., microcontrollers, PALs, GALs. So whatever you're programming, you choose the correct software module. So it is a little bit, or you can launch this software module straight from the get-go. You don't have to go into this Advin menu. But what we're going to do is, I think, isn't there a diagnostics? I thought there was a diagnostics one. I just typed in SP diag, and you can see it says CPU not supported, CPU speed. I guess the CPU is too fast. It says it's not supported, but it does work. I'm running some type of Sempron, it's not an Intel chip, so or it is Intel, but it's not a Pentium chip. So you can run diagnostics. It's telling us device type, our model number, the version that we're running of the software, and we can do the same confidence test where it runs all of it. And you see how it says, it says may be shorted, but for whatever reason it doesn't show those. Oh, duh. That's because I have the chip in. When you run this test, you need to make sure the chip is out. Let's do it again. And it passed the confidence test. When I was running older version of the DOS software, I think I don't know what version it was, but it would fail the relay test on one pin. So there must have been a bug that they fixed with the U84 at least. So that's that. And quit. Yes. Advin. We wanted to let's read our EPROMs here. You can see that. So we want to load a file. Oh yeah, this will be a little bit harder. Let's go back. Config, device, Intel 2732, and then we can want to, let's see here. There we want to verify or examine. Well, verify failed obviously because we didn't load anything into memory. Let's do examine. So that would read everything into the buffer, etc. So the DOS is just not as user friendly, but it works fine. So just wanted to show you that, and I think we're done with this. So pretty cool. Got this Advin. The thing is huge, but it does so many chips that I think this might be a keeper for me. I don't know. My EMP30 is also can do a whole bunch of chips too, and is a little bit smaller. But the EMP20, let's see here, get out of there. The EMP20 does everything but bipolar proms. So this can do bipolar proms, PALs, GALs. So it can do basically everything without having any different family modules or anything. Everything's built in. So that's why it's so big, as an example. So, all right, hopefully this helped somebody, and we'll talk to you next time.